as a neo-colonial lawyer at Makerere. This was Jim Mwezi, who was our secretary. He advised that, according to the colonial law, Zabroni did not kill the 3 villagers in Morule, that it was the beer inside Zabroni that had killed the people, and therefore Zabroni could not be guilty. The indigenous communities have 2 systems of offenses. The first category were Ebshumro. These were offenses short of murder. These included insult, okujuma, very serious. Mistreatment of spouse, such as kugunga, what they call kugunga, which means denial of sex. That's a big offense. Okwitsenjara, not feeding the partner well. Okushenda, denying shelter to somebody who had okwirirwa, caught by the night while on a journey. Kuonesa, livestock eating somebody's crops. Kuterenta wato, denying water to cattle that are not yours, etc., etc. The remedy for all these, after you have been through the court of the chief or a shazi, which is an assembly of elders sitting outside the kraal, or a tribunal, such as in the matter of Garomukazi Oyangaine, trying to bring back one's wife after she has gone back to her parents in protest against mistreatment. The answer for all this is Okonga, to pay a fine. This can be a cow, a goat, etc. The action is called Okonjesa. The other category of offense is murder, which will create enzugu, vendetta. With enzugu, there were 2 solutions. These were either to revenge or kora, hence the name Mhozi. Mhozi means an avenger. Or kukaraba, blood settlement. If the offending clan did not want to suffer revenge, they would reach out to the victim's clan and offer to kukaraba, which is to pay big compensation in cattle for the murdered person, and the abafumu, the priests, to wipe out the enmity with some rituals that cleans away the blood. Therefore, the colonial concept that somebody can commit an offense and then deny it is very provocative to we, the indigenous people. It represents impunity. Aware of this orientation of our people, we could not bear listening to the line of people like Mwezi. In the case of the Semto murders, where it was the beer inside Zabroni that was guilty, but not Zabroni. Since Zabroni had made himself a jerrycan of alcohol, and that jerrycan had killed 3 Ugandans, Zabroni and his colleague had to be shot in public and at a point where they had killed people. It is that initial act of balanced justice that catapulted the prestige of the NRM in Buganda and Uganda. The Baganda said, Bano Balina Mazima. These are people of truth and justice. Hence, the work Ritova Kakuturo you are talking about now. The work Ritova Kakuturo came because of strict accountability, which we had started when we were in the bush. Even when we came into government, the same was maintained. Indeed, some soldiers have been executed in public for killing people. Examples are Sergeant Kibonge, Sergeant Omona, Private Codet, etc., etc. If Uganda had been peaceful in 1982, in the case of Zaburon and group, we could have explored the option of Kukaraba. That was the only way we could save Zaburoni, to have blood settlement. But we didn't have that opportunity. Therefore, on the side of the NRA, we came with the spirit of the indigenous justice. However, in the wider system, the legal practitioners and some of the elite adhered to the colonial system that is quite ridiculous in some cases. Take the example that sometimes the accused can refuse to answer. In the tribe, you say, I don't want to answer, you are guilty. This is the way we think. Then there is the issue of granting bail, even when the accused can interfere with the case. Apart from the disconnected colonial system, you also get actual abusers of that system because they are dishonest. Even with the colonial law, bail is apparently only given when the accused cannot interfere with the case. However, you have seen rampant cases of policemen giving bonds or magistrates giving bail to village thieves that are threatening rural agriculture. So that was one problem. Then there was the death of many of our original NRA commanders, by many dying from the natural causes. The regiments that brought victory on the 26th of January 1986 were the following: 1st Battalion, 3rd Battalion, 5th Battalion, 7th Battalion, 9th Battalion, 11th Battalion, 13th Battalion, 15th Battalion, 17th Battalion, 19th Battalion, 21st Battalion. These were 11 regiments, although they were being called battalions. 19th Battalion, for instance, had 1,900 soldiers, yet our battalion that time would have been about 750 personnel. However, 7 of these regiments had their commanders dead in the early years after 1986. Instead of having the original NRA Basosodoti commanders, because the commanders of the NRA were Basosodoti of the movement, believe in the ideology of the NRM. Instead of having the original Basosodoti commanders, we started having either careerist commanders, Nkola Mulimu, Ndikumusala, or even actual opportunists, Najakulia. This is how you started having corruption in the army, stealing army ration, stealing army fuel, stealing army funds. In the wider society, however, the prestige of the NRM on account of working the Kakuturo, as well as repairing the ruined economy, goods in the shops being plentiful, some of the infrastructure being repaired, the prestige of the NRA grew. So our cadreship was becoming weaker, but still the reputation of the prestige of the NRM grew because of the successes. But the Basosodoti were not enough. The NRM therefore attracted big membership, standing at 18 million by May 2025 last year when we checked the registers. However, gaps in observing human rights, in fighting corruption and fighting crime, mainly on the part of the political class, the bureaucracy, and the judiciary remained. So you had success, economy was growing, goods were plentiful in the shops, was there, but there were gaps. There were gaps because of the diluted cadreship. This meant that there was peace and the economy was growing, but it would have grown even more if we did not have those gaps. I noticed that danger, and for the NRA UPDF, I encouraged young Muhozi, after he had finished S6, to mobilize some of his colleagues and come to Kasseng training wing for ideological and military training. You remember the stories that time by the negative forces that I was recruiting an illegal army. You must have, if you check the news, you will see those stories. Those cadres, however, unlike their Bush predecessors, had more time and opportunity for professional development by attending all military and ideological courses systematically, level by level. The recent limited actions by security forces against some individuals and institutions are really long overdue actions to fill those gaps. Those gaps. Work Retrieval Control, created mainly by the UPDF, Bonabagagawale, Wealth for All, created by the NRM, that have resulted in metamorphosis in Uganda into lower middle-income country, must also be reinforced by no more sleep, no more Congola, no more corruption, and now no more impunity by the selfish people and agents of foreign interests to systematically denigrate the efforts of the people to develop themselves, and also some people endlessly committing crimes and using the law to shield them. There was a weakness on the part of the political, administrative, and legal cadres of the government in allowing this impunity to continue for so long. Some people say people have been abusing Museveni, but Museveni has been ignoring them. That is true. But those malignments were slowing down our growth. Some investors and tourists are scared away from coming to Uganda on account of those false stories. I have got many examples. When people come here, they get amazed about the progress, seeing what's on the ground compared to the stories they have been hearing. It is therefore good that security forces have come in to fill the gap. In the past, I did not have enough cadres to fill this gap. It is not only the security forces that are filling this gap. A year or two back, Honorable Fred Byamukama helped Uganda to expose the criminals that had turned State House into a mafia center. State House here had become a mafia center. State House had become a mafia center. Yeah. In order to have your document brought to the president, you can imagine, in order to have your document brought to the president, you had to pay a bribe of 30 million shillings. The Mkama reported the matter to me. We arrested the gangs. There is therefore a counter-offensive against corruption, crime, and impunity. To show the impunity, take the case of Besigye, Dr. Besigye. He was arrested on the 17th of November 2024. It is now almost 2 years. All this time, however, he has been refusing trial, misusing the legal system. Why would this great Democrat and human rights fighter spend so many calories on refusing to come to trial, where he has got opportunity to prove his innocence and expose the undemocratic behavior of the dictatorship of Museveni and his family? What is the problem? Because the dictatorship of Museveni and his family is imprisoning Besigye wrongly. Come to the court and expose it. Why do you spend so much time avoiding court? Second question, why should the legal system for so long allow an accused person to just refuse to be tried? Somebody who's accused says, I don't want to be tried, and he's not tried. Is that a good system or what? How can somebody who's accused say, I don't want to be tried, and 2 years is not tried? This allowing of impunity to continue for so long is responsible for the culture of mob justice. Before you talk about the security forces, talk about the population. Why do the population take the law in their own hands? Why? Why do the population take the law in their own hands? The population suspects that the police and the judiciary may not hold the criminal accountable, hence the mob justice, which is unfortunate. The fascist tendencies among some of the elements of the opposition have for a long period provoked the patriots. See again, when in 2020 the rioters were undressing women because they were dressed in NRM colors. Let's see whether these people have the video. Freeze that, freeze it, bring it back. Where the guy is undressed. Bring it back. When she's actually undressed, a bit forward, you idiot. This is freeze it there, freeze it there. This is democracy. This is democracy. This is human rights. See. The woman is undressed because she had colors of NRM. And nobody talks about this. I have not heard anybody condemning this. I don't want to blame people. I have not heard anybody other than us complaining. I don't know whether the religious leaders condemned it, or the cultural leaders, or the law society. Check for me, please. I need a record. Who condemned that act? See the picture when an armed policewoman was attacked by the hooligans. Let's see another picture. That's a police. This is a policewoman. Go back. Go back. See that quite often you have heard slogans. Tugenda kuocha Kampala. How many times have you heard that? How many times have you heard that? If you want to go to heaven, that is. If you want to go to Gehenna, of course you will deny. But I'm sorry, when I go to heaven, I will wait for some people. Tugenda kuocha Kampala. Tugenda kuocha Kampala. Kuocha Kampala. We are going to ban Kampala. What did the slogan Taja Kulaira mean? Taja Kulaira. Didn't you hear that? What did it mean? For people who want peace. Democrats. The translation is the elected president of Uganda will not be allowed to swear in. How will you stop the swearing in except by violence if you are not using the courts? If you are not using the courts, how will you stop the swearing in? By violence. That's what they were planning, which they tried to do, but we defeated it. All these schemes we defeat them. Kwenda kwa Kampala, they can't ban it. Teja kurahira, msajja arahira. But who are these who plan? We know them, of course. And the commentators, the ones who are talking about it, why don't you, especially maybe the foreigners don't know, who don't know our language. But our people here know. Why do they allow the people to talk like this and they don't caution them? I have not heard anybody cautioning these authors of this. I have not heard it. Yeah. But now I'm telling you, because of course we have been following everything. Yeah. How many times have you heard the taunting by hooligans of especially the NRM women supporters in the words, mwe bikazi mwe, ye mwe abatusibye kwa kasajja. You stupid women are the ones that have failed us to remove this man, this command. They don't even call him a man, kasajja. The command. It is the democratic right of those women to kubasibako the kasajja if they support the kasajja. That's what the democracy means, please. Because wagira kasajja muleke because wagira kasajja kabyo. Or persuade them. But to harass our people, those who are, of course some of them paid, because when they rioted on the 18th of November 2020, Kasel Lumumba here, the Minister of ICT is here. She came in Karamoja, she was shaking. People are writing in Karamoja, what are they doing? They are attacking people. You keep quiet. They will lose appetite for attacking them. She's here. She can bear witness. They will stop. But the arrested opposition lawbreakers may not get bail because they threaten the security of the witnesses. Because some people have been saying, you give these people bail, give them bail. Yes, but because they are not Democrats, when we release them, they attack the witnesses. You cannot have democracy without people with the spirit of democracy. with fascists.